Hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is Dr. Hibbert. If you have not yet subscribed, I invite you to do so. And remember that subscription is free and you only subscribe once. Remember to turn on the notification on your phone, on your device, so you'll receive new uploads when we do them. Today we'll be talking about suicide, 5 myths and facts of suicide. Now, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 90% of people who die by suicide suffer from one or more mental disorder, um, such as depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, alcoholism, or drug abuse. Now, depression, I know, plays a major role in suicide. Suicidal people can't see and they can't imagine any solution to their suffering. So that's why they resort to ending their life. And this is due to their um, distorted thinking caused by depression. Suicidal people confuse positive thoughts with negative thoughts. Just because you feel hopeless doesn't mean that life is hopeless. Not at all. One main reason people commit suicide is the assumption that their current feelings and situations will never ever change. Listen, suicide affects everyone close to you. It affects your family and everyone. As a matter of fact, it leaves lasting wounds that are sometimes never ever healed. So let's look at the 5 myths and facts of suicide. Myth number 1: people who commit suicide won't, or rather, people who talk about suicide won't really do it. That's a myth. The fact is, almost everyone who attempts suicide has given it some thought sometime or another. So no matter how casually or jokingly you hear someone make certain statements, never take it lightly. For example, statements like, "You'll be sorry when I'm gone," or "I can't see any way out." This person may well be thinking about ending their life. They're having suicidal feelings. Myth number 2: anyone who tries to kill themselves must be crazy. The fact is, suicidal people are not necessarily psychotic or insane. They have lost hope. They're despairing, they're upset, they're grief stricken, they're depressed, things like that. Myth number 3: if someone is determined to kill themselves, nothing is going to stop them. That is a myth. The fact is, even severely depressed persons have mixed feelings about death. They fluctuate between wanting to live and wanting to die. Rather than death, they just want the pain to go away. So the impulse to end their lives does not really last forever. Myth number 4: people who die by suicide are people who were unwilling to seek help. That, again, is a myth. The fact is, many people try to get help before committing suicide. In most cases, their cries have never been heard or taken seriously by someone. So we need to look for warning signs. For example, take suicidal talk or behavior seriously. It's not just a warning sign, it's a cry for help. They're crying out, help me. So any talk about dying or self-harm, such as I wish I hadn't been born, if I see you again, or I'd better off dead. They might be seeking access to weapons, guns, knives, pills, or other objects that could be used in a suicide attempt. So any sign of hopelessness is something to take very, very serious. The belief that things will never get better or change is, that's something that drives them to do the wrong thing. Another thing is self-loathing, like I hate myself, the feelings of worthlessness, guilt, shame, feeling like a burden to someone, asking things like, what's the use? Everyone would be better off without me, and things like those. So, sometimes we see people suddenly getting their affairs in order, doing things that, just start doing some things suddenly, making arrangements for family members, saying goodbye, unusual or unexpected visits or calls to family and friends, saying goodbye to people as if they won't see them again. These are signs and these are signals, these are red flags that somebody is thinking about suicide. They might be withdrawing from others, kids withdrawing from school, and in family, they isolate themselves. They have a desire to be left alone. They start to adopt self-destructive behaviors, increased alcohol or drug abuse, reckless driving, unsafe sex, taking unnecessary risks, acting as though they really have a death wish. They might have a sudden sense of calm after being extremely depressed. This can mean that the person has made a decision to end their life. Myth number 5. If we talk about suicide, it may give someone the idea. That's a myth. The fact is, you don't give someone suicidal ideas by talking about suicide. Rather, it's the opposite. Talking openly and honestly about suicidal thoughts and feelings can help to save a life. So there should be close observation to people who have, mood disorders, again, such as depression, bipolar disorder, alcohol or drug dependence, or, if they previously attempted suicide or have a family history of suicide, things like that. So one of the most subtle, dangerous warning sign of suicide is hopelessness. Hopelessness. Hopelessness is a strong predictor of suicide. People who feel hopeless may talk about unbearable feelings and having nothing to look forward to because there's no hope. Other warning signs include sudden personality changes, such as switching from outgoing to withdrawn or well behaved to rebellious, things like that. A suicidal person may also lose interest in day to day activities, neglect his or her appearance, and show vast changes in eating or sleeping habits. So, any talk about suicide, any talk about dying, any talk about self harm should be taken seriously. Any talk. Questions to ask a person who might be attempting or have suicidal ideas. Questions you can ask is well, before I get there, let me say what you should not say to a suicidal person. You should not say to a suicidal person, "I know what you're going through." The truth is, you don't know what they're going through. You're assuming, but you don't know what they're going through. So never, ever say to a person, unless you have attempted suicide before, and so you know you have a feeling of what they might be experiencing. But if you have never been down that road, never say to them, "I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through." You don't know. So you need to say things like, when did you begin feeling like this? Did something happen to make you start feeling this way? Or how can I best support you right now? Have you thought about getting help? Let them know, reassure them that they're not alone. I'm here for you. You can say to them, well, you may not believe it now, but things have a way of changing suddenly. Let them know. You can say things like, I may not be able to understand exactly how you feel, but let them know that you care. One of the things that you should never say again, give me a call if you feel like you're going to do something. The truth is that they're not going to call you. So the best thing to do is, maybe to give them, just show up at their house or things like that, and you give them a call because they're not going to call you. So you can just advise them that if they feel that urge to do it, just say, well, you know what, all right, just tell yourself, I'm not going to do it now. Let me give myself an hour or a day or a few minutes. You'll be surprised to know what a few minutes can do, what an hour can do, what a day can do. It might just, change the whole scenario, the whole idea of a person, because during that time, somebody may just show up in their life who can really get them to avert that situation or change their thought process. Okay, so we need to be proactive and do some things that will help the person, not things that will further destroy them. So just be on top of the game. If you have any this slightest suspicion of somebody might be trying to do something, again, never say, give me a call, because that's too vague. All right, you call, you drop by, just show up, to see how they're doing, and or invite them out on something, but don't expect them to be calling you, because they're never ever going to do that. One other thing again that plagues society is teenage suicide. Children are committing suicide. Recently, I heard of a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old who committed suicide. That's really, really, really thought provoking, because you'd never think that a 7-year-old would even have the idea of killing herself. But it does happen. An 8-year-old, it does happen. So that's why we need to be on top of our game. It's a serious growing problem in society today. Teenage years can be very emotional or turbulent. It can be very stressful. Some of you listening to me right now, you've been a teenager, you've been a youth, so you know the things that you go through. The teenage face, they face pressure to succeed. They face pressure to fit in. They struggle with self-esteem issues. They struggle with self-doubt. Sometimes they feel alienated. And these things, it leads to suicide. Okay. Sometimes they get depressed and they don't know how to handle these situations, so they think that the next thing is to just end their life. One of the things that we need to look out for, if somebody is schizophrenic and things like that, and because sometimes these people are hearing voices, and voices can lead them or tell them to do a thing that they really shouldn't be doing, because they're listening to the voices in their head. All right, so let's be as helpful as we possibly can. Again, for your children, look for that violent, rebellious behavior, the bullying, the running away, the neglect, and the change in personal appearance, sometimes boredom, difficulty concentrating, decline in the quality of schoolwork, things like that. Okay, so if you can help to save a life, it will be worth it. So as I close, I want to use some words from Michelle Obama in closing this session. Michelle Obama says, and I quote, "You may not always have a comfortable life, and you will not always be able to solve all the world's problems at once. But don't ever underestimate the importance you can have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own." End quote by Michelle Obama. One of the things I always say to people, that the power within you, or what you face yesterday, what you face today, cannot be compared with the power that's within you. So whatever you face tomorrow, there is enough inside of you to try to abort that situation. So until next time, this is Dr. Hibbert saying, have a good one and help to save a life. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Again, God bless you.